Welcome back to another video. I'm Bobby, and I just love to share my truths and my journey on here. So subscribe if you want to come along for the ride. It has been super rainy and stormy these last few days, and to be honest, I love a good storm. It just kind of like makes me stop doing anything, and that's when I start resting, relaxing. I usually take the time to journal, to read a lot, and it really just gives me space to be with myself and kind of like go on the journey within and see, okay, how have I been feeling this week? What are the emotions that are stored right now? Like, what are the topics in my head that have been circling around? Like, what is it that I maybe want to express? What is it that I maybe just want to work through and not express? So I did that, and that's when this next topic came to me. And basically what I want to talk about in this video is how we can be better people in this world. How can we take ownership over our actions? Instead of reacting, how can we act with integrity, with honesty? Like, how can we be the bigger person, and how can we be the person that we want other people to be and show up in ways for ourselves? And this has been like really big because I have been seeing a lot of patterns of reacting within myself, especially to certain people. And it's not healthy to react, because usually when you react means that you are getting triggered, there is something traumatic or something in your past that you've gotten taught, or your inner child basically learned how to deal with the situation and it's coming up. So you're reacting, and whatever feelings were stored within your body are coming back up, and that hurt is what you're reacting out of. You're not reacting to actually that specific thing that's being said to you, but it's that thing that's being said, and everything in your past that was connected to that feeling, that emotion in that moment that you're feeling. So basically, if a person says something to you, you're reacting to so much more than just what they said. And I don't think that response is usually the best or the healthiest or any good at all, really, because it's not truly who we are. And with that being said, I feel like we all want to live in a world where we treat each other better, and where we take care of each other, and where we live within a nice community. And that is something that I've been reading a lot about lately, and that is to shift the focus from doing everything alone to going back to the way we used to live within communities, where we needed each other to survive. And because we needed each other, we treated each other differently, whereas now we can be super avoidant, we can do our own thing because we know we can get through in this world. To a certain point, I want to say, because eventually I don't think this is a healthy way of living, to not live in community. Have you ever been in a really stressful situation? I mean, I know we all have been in those situations. You're like worried about losing your job. You're dealing with like a super mean customer, or even just like somebody says something to you that really hurts you. In that moment, stress hormones get triggered within your body. And that's like when you can feel like your heart starts pounding, or you get really tense. Like usually people get like sweaty hands or just start sweating in general. Your breathing shortens and you're like, you don't take deep breaths anymore. Now this is the fight or flight response within our bodies. I don't know if you've heard this term before or not, but that is basically a survival mechanism to react quickly to life-threatening situations. Okay, now let's rewind. Most situations when we have this response are not life-threatening. And this is where the problem comes in. Our bodies are constantly in this fight or flight mode because everyday situations have become these life-threatening situations, at least in the response in our body, which they're not though in actual real life, because it's not life or death because a customer treats us like mean, or it's not life or death that we might lose our job, or that there's traffic. Like that really does not interfere with if we're going to live. Even work pressure at home, you know, if you have a fight with your spouse or a family member, none of that is life-threatening. All right, and now I just want to get into this really quickly. I just want to say I'm obviously no scientist, but we have an autonomic nervous system in our body, which means those are all the automatic processes in the body. For example, like digestion, your heartbeat. It's something that happens not conscious, but it's just subconscious. It's just your body does it without you thinking about doing it. It's not like moving your arm. That's something you're like, okay, I'm gonna move my arm, but you don't think about breathing. You don't think about your heartbeat. You don't think about digestion. It's like, I'm gonna digest now. So that happens automatic within your body. And within the autonomic nervous system, we have the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is action. So that is your fight or flight response. That is when you're in that moment of your stress hormones are pumping through your body. You're ready to lift that heavy car, to fight whatever danger is right in front of you. And then we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest state. So basically, what it is that I want to implement in my life, and I hope you too, is instead of being in the sympathetic nervous system and a lot of daily situations that are slightly stressful but not life-threatening, we want to stay in our parasympathetic nervous system, or at least get back into our parasympathetic nervous system. If you are more interested in this, I would definitely recommend watching a few more videos on YouTube. There's so many people who explain this into depth so nicely. I'm super interested in these kind of topics. I always read books about them and just like educate myself online. So now the easiest thing to do to come back into your parasympathetic nervous system is deep breathing and relaxing. So basically, deep breathing and relaxation activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which sends a signal to your brain to tell your anxious part that you are safe and there's no need for the fight or flight response. Deep breathing also gets more oxygen to your brain. And now this is where I want to introduce the STOP method. I actually learned this at a recent work meeting, which I thought was really interesting, because this is the first time I'm working for a company where I feel like they're actually teaching us like human skills, communication skills, things that will get us further in life in general. And it's not just about sales, but it's about building a community. So, STOP method. I'm definitely gonna blend in the picture right here. S stands for stop, T stands for take a breath, O stands for observe, and P stands for proceed with purpose and intention, I would say. Okay, so let's rewind. So in any of these situations where somebody says something to me where we feel like we're responding, so anytime those stress hormones get sent off, we can usually feel in our body that something is shifting. So first thing is for you to identify what is your response to these stressful situations, like someone saying something mean to you, a family member like accusing you of something, you have a lot of work to be done, or there is a traffic jam. Like, what does it do to you? What in your body gets activated? That's how you know what your response is. And as soon as you feel your hands getting a little bit sweaty, or your heart going a little bit faster, or your breathing is getting quicker, stop. Take a second, take a step back, and just don't respond. I want you to just be in that moment and just realize what is happening. And even if this might seem weird to whoever is opposite you, it will be the best outcome for everyone if you take a step back in that moment and just stop. Now we'll proceed to T. T means to take a breath. As we talked about before, taking a deep breath activates our parasympathetic nervous system again. So what we're doing here is we're going from a sympathetic nervous system back into a parasympathetic nervous system because we want to relax. We don't want to react to what people are saying, but we actually want to choose how we interact with people, right? All right, take a deep breath. And here, there's different breathing exercises you can do. I was actually talking to my dad, and it's really interesting because what he said he used to do is he would take a deep breath in and out, and whilst he's doing that, in his head, he would count from 10 to 0, just to fully get out of the situation in the moment and focus on something else, to really just refocus, and then to come back and arrive again in the situation. But you could also just like count your breathing, breathe in for a count of 5, hold for 5, count out for 5, and then hold again for 5. Or what's also really healthy is to just extend your exhale. So let's say you inhale 4, 5, and then you exhale on like a 6 or 8, depending on how comfortable you are with whatever breathing exercise. And I would just look up one and try to find like one that fits to you specifically, something that is easy for you to remember. And then whenever you're in these situations, after you stopped, do that breathing exercise. Oh, observe. I want you to observe your body, observe what is happening. So there's a lot going on right now. You are actually in fight or flight mode, but you're breathing really deeply. You're letting go of whatever was coming up. Also, you can observe what is coming up in that moment. And this is something interesting that I said in the meeting, and that was you don't have to reflect upon what is coming up in that moment, but you can let it come up and just see what it is. And then later that day, maybe you want to sit down and journal about it. Or maybe you want to take your best friend and talk about it, because it is good to release it. But in that moment, it might not be the ideal moment to actually unpack whatever is coming up, whatever was stored within you emotionally, and wanted to react to the situation. But it is good to do a lot of shadow work and to obviously go through everything that is stored within us. All right, and P, proceed with purpose. So here, obviously you had a second, you're not activated anymore, you're not in fight or flight mode, and then you can proceed. And proceed with purpose basically means, let's say you're in a conversation and someone said something that was really mean, or a customer, I work in a customer service job, so customers can be really mean sometimes just because they're having a bad day. It's not even like personally, it has nothing to do with you, although we love taking things personally. No, it has nothing to do with you. But in that moment, I get activated, fight or flight mode, but after doing these few steps, I can proceed with purpose, and I can actually just be a loving and caring person and help the customer out in a way that I would want to be helped, although they maybe were mean. So basically you're the bigger person because you can show up the way you want to show up in this world, and you can show up in a way that you want other people to show up for you, no matter if you're having a good or bad day. And I think that is so important because I have so many past experiences where with friends or in situations, I've shown up in ways that I don't want to say I regret, but I do feel a little bit weird about, because I know I showed up in ways that I would never want to show up, but it just happened because I reacted. And yeah, sometimes we just do show our worst versions, especially to the people we love, but that's okay. Like, it's okay. The past is the past, and everything that happened. And I do think that if we're going on this journey of changing, there is just people in our lives that won't be in our life anymore, and not everyone will actually see and acknowledge the change that is happening. And yes, there is people that I've hurt in the past because of my actions and reactions, and I feel bad for that, and I'm sorry about that. But all that I can do is to further on my journey and change and become that better self, become that person that is impeccable with their word. And that's who I want to be. So the stop method is a really great thing to integrate in your life, and I want to do a little challenge. So this week I'm going to try to use the stop method every single time that I feel my body tensing up. I know I start sweating quite a bit as soon as I'm stressed, Like I can feel my hands just getting sweaty, and honestly, I get like all the symptoms. Anyways, as soon as I get any of these symptoms, I'm gonna take a second, go through the stop method, and I wanna just document and I wanna just journal down how I feel each time. So I challenge you to do this week as well. So every time there's a situation where you feel like anything is coming up, you're getting stressed, you're responding, you're reacting, take a second, go through the stop method, do your breathing technique, and kind of just journal it out. Afterwards, at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be in that moment, and see how that changes things in your life. See how that changes how you are with the people around you. Because at the end of the day, in order to go back to that loving community that we had a long time ago, I want to be able to go back to that, to treat each other with respect. And one last thing that I do want to say is that these things come up a lot more when we're actually with people who are closer to us, because growing up is usually when the most trauma happens in our lives, and it shows the most with the people that are closest to us. You know, you can walk down the street and someone says something to you, a stranger, and you're just like, well, whatever. But if that same thing your partner says to you or someone in your family, you react and you get really mean, it's because they're deeper connected to you, so you love them more. So it's easier for them to see your truth, and it's easier for you to be your true self around them. But let's rise and become our actual true selves and not our past conditioned selves. Anyways, this is everything for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, and remember to live in love, peace, and happiness. And I'll see you next week. Bye.